All right, Sam, thank you so much for being on the Mentor Nation podcast. It's just an absolute pleasure to have you, man. Thank you for being on here.
Oh man, thank you so much for having me. It's a privilege to be on your show.
Absolutely. So, obviously, doing a lot of research on you, you have probably one of the best comeback stories I've ever heard. It's a killer comeback story, and I can't wait to get into that. But before we get into your past and your story, so if you could just share with the audience a little bit about, what is life like right now? What are you doing? What businesses do you own? What all are you involved with at the moment?
Well, right now I'm the CEO of Camp Transformation Centers. We are a international franchise. Have about 120 locations now
Oh,
across the
wow.
country and worldwide. I'm a CEO of two supplement companies, Sport Nutrition and 1% Nutrition. And I'm a serial entrepreneur. I do coaching, I do counseling. Just any way I can serve, the humankind is what I do.
That's now you also have a clothing line and you have a badass podcast as well. Like, can you just talk a minute about that? Because I know the listeners of mine are going to love yours.
Thank you. My clothing line is the 1% life. And the 1% to me is all about becoming a 1%, not being better than anyone, becoming your best version of yourself. Staying in your own lane, pushing yourself to the limit and making yourself become the best version of yourself and not caring what other people are doing or what other people think of you and what society wants you to be. So that's my whole gist behind my nutritional line and my clothing line. As far as the podcast, I have a 1%er podcast where I interview, people who are 1%ers, people who came through adversity, people who pushed through. And 1%ers, again, has nothing to do with how much money you make. That has nothing to do with material possession you make. It's the will, it's the grit, it's the persistence. That's what I admire about people. I don't care if you're a billionaire, but all of a sudden you inherited a billion. That doesn't make you anybody. But if you're just a middle class man who came from nothing, came here with $2, and you just busted your ass and you persisted and you just did whatever you could and you put everything online every single day, that's what I respect, and that's the definition of the 1%.
Man, that's awesome. And speaking of coming here with nothing, I want to dive into your story. Can you share with everybody just a little bit about, your childhood and immigrating over to America and just what things were like in the early days?
Yeah, man. I was born in Tehran, Iran, in 1973. So I'm 46 years old, and I remember, we grew up to a very, middle class family. And the problem with our middle class family was that they used to be rich
Mm,
and they lost it all, whether it was to gambling, whether the government took it over and all that kind of stuff. They used to be rich, they lost it all. So now they're middle class, but they were always talking about what they used to have. I was always talking about always living in the past. And I told myself that this is something I never want to do. I never want to live in the past. The only thing that matters right now is where I'm at right now, where I want to go, and what I'm willing to do about it. You know what I mean? And so I learned at a very young age when I was hanging around the relatives and they were telling me, well, guess what? We used to have this and we used to have that and we used to have that. And I'm looking at them like, how come we don't have it now? How come we're not able to get it back?
that's
You know what I mean? And so I grew up, and I remember not long after I grew up, I was a very young kid. Iran and Iraq went to war.
hmm
And the revolution took over. We went to war with Iraq, and every night there were bombings, there were craziness going on, and it was just a total disaster. But when you grow up in disaster, you think that's normal.
right.
If you grew up seeing bombs being dropped on you, you think that's just kind of normal life. You don't know, you think that's what everything is. But obviously, my mom didn't want, her only son to go to military and all that kind of stuff because they were
Yep.
recruiting kids as young as like 12, 13 years old. So we came to France as refugees of war. When I say we, it was me and my mom. My mom and dad separated
hmm
and got divorced when I was 3 years old. I never saw my dad again. That's a whole separate issue.
Yep.
We came to France and then we came to America, the refugees of war in 1985, and I was 11 years old. Me, my mom, one luggage, $500, and we moved in a little apartment with my uncle, which was my mom's brother.
Got it. And that was where did you move?
She moved to a little town called Sharon, Pennsylvania. Now, like when I was coming to America, I was watching all the American TV shows, and I thought America was Beverly Hills. I thought America was like, that upscale neighborhoods in Dallas, because that's what I used to watch on
Yeah,
TV. And so when I came to America, nobody on TV, showed you the hood in America.
that's right.
And my mom, came, and my uncle had a little store in the worst neighborhood in Sharon, Pennsylvania, which is a very homogeneous town. There was only black people, white people. We were the only minorities in that town. And, we were when I came, my first impression of America was abandoned buildings, prostitutes, drug dealers, pimps,
Right.
and, drugs outside, people selling drugs outside of the convenience store. So I was like, wow, this was a kind of rude awakening. It wasn't that Beverly Hills that I imagined.
That's right. That's crazy. My dad is the same way. He immigrated to Bowling Green, Kentucky, and it's the middle, like Amish people nearby. So it was like he stood out. Like he would tell me the stories as well. So that's really must be a common theme to immigrate to like weird places.
I mean, like, right? Like, you would think you go to New York, you would think you go to Washington, D.C., you think you come to L.A., it's like a metropolitan area, but you went to like a rural, bumfuck Egypt.
Yeah, Sharon, Pence. I've never even heard of it.
Oh, and you don't want to hear about it, you know what I mean? And but back then, man, you're grown up, you're 11, 12 years old, it's, you're at a very sensitive stage in your life.
That's right.
You're a teen, you're about to be a teen, you really care about what people think about you, what people say about you. And they had nothing nice to say about me, because I was a foreigner, I come from a terrorist country, I was a terrorist, I had a unibrow, I was short, I was skinny, you name it. I got called names. Anything in the book, they called me names because I wasn't one of them. And kids can be harsh at that at that age. And but a lot of times, man, everything that happened to me, and when we go through this interview, for people who are listening, everything that happened to me made me better. Everything that was devastating to me set me up for a better thing later on. And I want all your listeners to understand is that if you're going through a hardship right now, if you're going through a setback, don't sit in your setback. Don't dwell upon your setback. Understand that setback is a part of life. Setback is what God creates for you as a test to see if you're a blessing, if you are worthy of his blessing later on. Nobody went through life without trials and tribulations. Nobody. And if you did have no trials or tribulations, then how sweet would life be? If you woke up with a perfect body, how sweet would that be? If you woke up with $10 million in your bank, how sweet would that be? It wouldn't be sweet. Is the chase, is who you become on your way to success is what really matters. None of this stuff, you guys are looking at a Ferrari in the background. I'm not here to, who cares? If that goes away, is everything that I've learned to get that car that really sticks with me for a lifetime. Material possessions come and go. All this stuff come and go. It's who you become in the process that matters the most. And you're not going to become anything without some adversity.
That's right. Man, it's such powerful advice. And I want to spend a minute there because, the early years, like you talked about, 11, 12, I mean, those years for a lot of people define their belief system later in life. And, seems like somehow you've always had such a great perspective, even though you were treated terribly in those early years. So can you just talk a minute about what was life like, in school, first coming here? Because I can only imagine. And how did you maintain such a positive perspective despite having to deal with that and being all alone for such a long time?
Well, coming here in school was just, I remember the first day of school, I went there, it was like Michael Jackson's Beat It video. On this side, those white people on this side, and they're looking at me, all looking at me like they're not one of us, you're not one of us, one of you. It was crazy, and it was really tough, and look, I can't always say I had a positive attitude, and I wasn't one of those guys, oh, no big deal. At 11 years old, man, I was devastated. I was devastated. At 11, 12 years old, people, you want people's approval. At that
Right.
age, you're very sensitive. You want people to like you and love you and notice you and things like that. and I wasn't that. People didn't like me. I didn't speak English. My clothes were different than what you find at J.C. Penney's. And it was really rough. And the thing that happened to me, which devastated me so much, and it became my superpower,
Right.
is this: my handicap, my devastation became my superpower.
Hmm. So your outlet at that time was working out and fitness. And I know the people looking, no?
No, I stumbled across my fitness. Let me tell you what happened. My
Hmm.
outlet wasn't working out fitness. When I came to America, I wanted to play soccer. I
Mm,
want to play football. So when I came here, and I was like, they didn't have a football team. They had a football team,
that's right.
and so I was devastated. I didn't know anything about football. I didn't know anything about baseball, but I saw basketball. I knew that you have to kind of throw the ball in the basket. I knew the objects of the game. So I tried out for the basketball team because all throughout my life, my former country, I was playing sports. I was playing soccer. So I never played basketball before, but I went out for a tryout. And man, everybody made the team. And I mean, everybody made the team except me.
Mm,
You know, everybody. Like I was the only person that didn't make the team. I don't know if they were discriminating against me and all that kind of stuff, but I couldn't believe it. I literally walked home devastated, cried the whole time home. And went to my mom and said, I want to go back to my old country, and I don't want to go. I don't like this country. This is not what I thought it was going to be. I don't have any friends. I don't have any sports. Nobody likes me. My mom said, we don't have that choice. My mom proposed that after school, I go to walk to the boys club, start practicing basketball, get better at basketball, and try out next year. So that was our game plan. So I would walk out at 2:15 to school would get out. I would go to, it was called Buell Club, which
mm-hmm.
was a little boys club. I would go there from 2:30 to 5 o'clock, 2.5 hours of practice basketball, get better, and then go home, do homework, take a shower, eat, and repeat. So while I was going after a couple of months of playing basketball, going in there practicing, I saw these guys who were walking away from this room.
Mm-hmm.
All looked like, Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know what I mean? And at that time, those movies were popping, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I was like, man, I want to look like that. I want to be strong. I want to have big arms and I want to be able to do that. And so I started working out little by little. And next thing you know, I started having like little baby muscles. I started feeling a little better. And I started like flexing in front of me. I started feeling have better self-esteem. I started becoming more positive. I started believing that, hey man, look, last week I couldn't do this weight. No, I'm getting stronger. This week I'm getting this weight. So for me, that was a mental win. I started winning in the gym. I started developing muscle, started getting stronger. My self-esteem started going up. My negative energy started going, I started looking at things more positively. And when I went back to school, everything when I started looking at everything more positively, everything became more positive. I
Mm,
started having more friends and started fitting in more,
right.
you know, and that was the turning point of my life. Again, look, have I not got cut from the basketball team? Have I not have gone through that devastation? I would have never worked out. Worked out never would have become my passion.
Right.
And today the camp would not exist. My supplement companies wouldn't exist. I wouldn't be where I'm at. God knows where I would be.
Man, that's such an incredible story. It's like it's those moments that I know the audience wants to hear more than anything, right? Like those little turning points and what led to what. So at that time, when you were in school and you started working out, like did you already have any kind of an entrepreneurial mindset, or were you just kind of going with the flow and working out at that time?
I had zero entrepreneurial mindset. Zero. Where we've come from, our original country, entrepreneur is viewed as a salesman, and salesman is a scum of the world. You might as well go be a merchant at the bazaar, or just open up a corner store and sell seeds and nuts and that kind of. That's how they see you. So for me, entrepreneur was never never in my family, never was looked good upon.
Right.
So for me, my mom said become a doctor. The first choice was a doctor, then a lawyer, then an engineer. So and she said I prefer a doctor. So I went to Penn State, graduated with my master's degree in pre-medicine and nutrition, went to Los Angeles College of Chiropractic, got my doctorate in chiropractic so I can give my diploma to my mom. She can be happy about it. She can talk to her friends, call her friends and say, my son's a doctor and brag, you know what I mean? So, but when I got out, I'm like, my passion is working out because I was bodybuilding at the time. I was
Yep.
working out. I was doing personal training. I was changing people's lives. I saw how, proper nutrition and proper exercise not only, change my physical appearance, but also help me mentally, emotionally, and in every aspect of my life. And I was doing that for my clients. When I was going to school, I was personal training them. I saw how I was changing their life, and I got hooked. There's nothing in life better than having a career that's your hobby and pays your bills. See,
So true.
most people have the, here's what most people are. Most people have hobbies that they love, but the hobbies doesn't pay their bills. And then they have careers that they hate, but unfortunately that's what paid the bills. So they're in a rat race. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm just blessed that all these things happened to me to put me in a place that my hobby, I just came from the gym. I work out 7 days a week. That my hobby, something that I would do for free,
Right.
became my paycheck, became the way I make a living. And I want you guys to understand that, man. Like if you do not like what you do, life is not worth living, being in a place where you don't want to do. Now I understand sometimes in some certain situations, say for example, you have some obligations, you have a kids and a wife, and you don't like your job. Guess what? I get it right now. You got to do it until you find a different job. But don't stay in a job for a long time,
Right.
and be a miserable person. Grow up to be 60 years old with a permanent bitch face on you, because you don't like it. Life is too short, man. You got to find your passion. You got to go after something you love to do. And I don't understand when people say, "Well, I haven't found my passion yet." You got to be fucking kidding me, right? You got to fucking kidding me, right? And I apologize for cursing on your show,
Totally fine.
but how can you possibly live on this planet and not know what you're passionate about? Ever since I was 3 years old, I knew what I was passionate about. I love cars, I
Right.
love sports, and I like the ladies. I was 3 years old. I didn't know what the ladies was, but I was like, oh, she looks cute. I don't know what to do with her, but she's beautiful. You know what I mean? Like that's what that, you know what I mean? And if you're on this planet and you haven't figured out what you really love and passionate about, then you need to check your pulse.
Yeah. Do you think that, I mean, and I agree with you 100%. I think that a lot of people, they kind of know what their passion is, but it's more fear of failing that prevents them from ever chasing it. And they mask it by saying, I don't know what my passion is. Like, do you feel the same way?
Listen, man, listen, I get it. I was there, but if you look at my life, you know, somebody asked me the other day, what's the number one key to your success? And if I had to pick one key to my success, it would be failure.
Mm,
Failures. You learn from failures. Failures mean you tried. Failures mean you try. Look, you can't win the lottery if you don't play the lottery. You can't go to the next level if you don't try. Here's the thing. Have you ever seen some goofy looking guy that's dating some beautiful girl? Beautiful. You look at this
all the
girl
time.
you're like, what the hell is she doing with this goofy ass guy? You know what I mean? What is this beautiful girl? You look at her, she's like a 10, and he's like a 2, right? And then then you think he's rich, and then he's not. You see, and you can automatically be like, oh, the guy must have a lot of money, right? He's
That's
not,
right.
right? Guess what? What's the difference between that goofy ass guy dating a beautiful girl, and you're sitting down there, and you're not dating that beautiful girl? You're like, he asked her. He asked her and you didn't because you feared like, oh my God, what is she going to say? What is she going to say? What is she going to say? The same goes with business.
Right.
Same things goes with life. Just go for it. What's the worst that can happen? Listen, everybody, when we started walking, my son is 7 months old. He's going to start crawling pretty soon. He's going to start walking after that. You think he's going to master walking the first time? Did you master the walking the first time? Did anyone master walking the first time? You fell on your face. You fell on your ass about 10,000 times before
Right.
you mastered walking. Not one time during your childhood did you ever say that, you know what, fuck it. Walking is not for me. It's
That's
not for me. I'm just going to give up. I'm just going to crawl the rest of my life. I'm going to just chill. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to have my dad or my mom pick me up. But what happens sometime during your lifetime, people told you you can't do it. You started caring about what people think of you. You started thinking about all these outside people telling you no, or what if I fail? What will people think of me? You know what? Fuck all that.
Right.
It's time for you to go for it. It's time for you to go, to go after your dreams. And it's time for you to not care about other people's opinion. Stay in your lane, focus on your goals. You fail, no big deal. Get back up.
I love that. I love that. Now you actually, so you became a doctor just to please your mom, and then that's incredible discipline, by the way. I figured a bachelor's maybe, but a master's in a doctor. And so what happened right after that? And if I remember correctly, that's when you kind of became an entrepreneur. You started. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I didn't even know. Look, I didn't even know what entrepreneur meant. I'll tell you the first time somebody told me an entrepreneur. I go in a minute. So I started my first business, which was on February 15th of 2000. It was called Fitness Concept. It was a personal training studio inside of LA Fitness. And at that time, LA Fitness wanted $17,500 for rent every month because that's what the rent was. And so I was like, okay, so if I do $17,500 in rent, if I bring in $40,000 in revenue, I should make $10,000 a month because the payroll was about 12,500. Rent was 17,500. So I was doing the math. So 40,000 was my thing. So I would literally work 80 hours a week for years, and I was making about 10 grand. Now listen, just graduated. I was making 10 grand. I come from Sharon, Pennsylvania. When if you make 2 grand a month, you made it.
Right.
I'm making 10 grand. So I don't, you can't tell me anything. I thought I was the man. I thought I was P. Diddy. I was working 80 hours a week though. I was working 8 hours a week.
Right.
I was working 7 days a week, but I didn't mind because I was making 10 grand. And I was like, man, my mom never made 10 grand. My dad never made 10 grand. None of my relatives made 10 grand. So I was like, wow, this is crazy. Right. And, I started doing better and better and better. I remember one day, one of my really good friends, his name is Dan Charlier. He's one of the top guys at World Financial Group. He comes in, he drives a nice Benz and, he had a nice ring on, like squash. And, he signs up for personal training. I'm like, what do you do? He goes, I'm an entrepreneur. And this was like in 2006.
Right.
2007. I'm like, entrepreneur? I go, what the fuck is that? Like, I have to go look it up. I didn't know what entrepreneur meant. You know what I mean? And now we have everybody, now we have, kids, say, I'm an entrepreneur.
That's right.
What do you do? Not everybody and their mother's an entrepreneur, right? So I started doing really well. In 2005, I decided to finally hang up the bodybuilding trunks from competing. I became the first bodybuilder in history to have a first place out on every weight class. I hung up the trunks, so I want to start a family. I got engaged and everything and got married in 2007. I hired my first mentor in 2005, 2006, and I was able to like quadruple my income. Now I'm making $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month. And now my ego is up here, I'm having, BMWs and sports trucks and bought my first home, and just, spending money recklessly.
That's right.
And nobody told me, the ups and downs of the economy. I didn't know there was such a thing as there's up market, down market, there's a bear market. I didn't know none of that. I didn't have a dad around. Nobody taught me that. Nobody taught me that in school.
Mm-hmm.
So next thing you know, people say, oh, recession's coming. We're in a recession. I'm like, yeah, man, whatever. There's no recession, man. Come on, man. I'm the man. I can make anything happen. Well, shit. It hit me like a brick. Things didn't slow down for me. It's like you're driving 90 miles an hour and somebody put an emergency brake on.
Right.
We were doing personal training. It was costing, anywhere between $500 to $600 to $800 a month. Nobody could afford personal training. Most of my clients were in the mortgage or loan industry or real estate. And all of a sudden, we just went, woo. My expenses were high. My income went down. Guess what? Now I can't afford to pay the house. My wife at the time was pregnant with our first kid. I'm devastated. I remember having a meeting with her, saying, hey man, we're negative $314 in the bank account, payroll isn't due in 2 weeks. I don't know what to do. And at that time, I just started, putting my nose into, just working, working, working. I would come home working 18-hour days, and like nothing would happen, nothing. Right, year after year, from 2008 to 2013, 2014, I worked 18-hour days, and nothing seemed to be working. So for a period of 5 or 6 years, I was barely getting by. My house was on foreclosure. I was 2 years behind on my house payment. And finally, in 2014, I started seeing the light. I saved the house through the miracle of God. The bank, started working with me. And after that, when I thought I was in the clear, one day at my work, and I get served divorce papers.
Mm.
And now, I'm like, wow, I just saw it light at the end of the tunnel. I just started getting back on my feet. I just saved the house. And then boom, like sidetracked. And I was that just, if anything was going to knock me out was that, because growing up without a father, I did not want that for my children.
Right.
I did not want that for children. So I remember, thinking, okay, maybe this is temporary. I moved out to a motel, in Chino Hills. I'm like, okay, maybe we're just gonna get in a fight, we'll be fine, whatever, this and that. And 1 week, 2 week, 1 month, 2 months passed, and then nothing. I'm still living in a hotel, and I'm devastated. I'm like, I had a real talk with myself. I asked myself, Sam, at that time I was 40 years old. I said, Sam, you're 40 years old now. Jesus Christ, you're an old man. You just started getting back on your feet. Now you lost your family. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And sometimes it's very important for us to sit down and have a come to Jesus meeting speech with yourself. Say, what am I all about? I told myself, what is my top priority? Because, before, when I saw my friends go through a divorce at this age, what they usually want, they usually go back to what they did in their 20s. Well, I'm free now, I'm single, so let's go back to the club, let's go back to start dating women, go drinking, do all that stupid shit you did when you were 20 years old. So my first instinct was like, go do what all these other people do, right? I'm like, no, but what's my top priority right now? Well, my top priority is always my children. Spend as much time with my children as possible. My second priority was to provide for them. So then I became crystal clear, time with my children or provide for them. Anything that wasn't giving me closer to those two things was a distraction. I eliminated all distractions. I eliminated everything, anything. Somebody called me, you want to go watch football? No. Somebody call me, hey, do you want to hang out? No. It was either my children or grinding. The only thing, children or grind. And I actually went, put my face in. At that time, we only had like 5 or 6 locations at the camp. At that time, I just started working, started developing some systems, some marketing strategies, and we started scaling big time. And all of a sudden, the camps started going like this. Again, let's look back. Have I not got served with divorce papers? Have I not been knocked down and devastated? I would have never put my nose to the grindstone because I was just cruising by. So because I put my nose, I put it on kind of stuff. Now the camp has 120 locations worldwide. It's an international franchise. We did over $50 million in sales last year. And again, another setback, another devastation, another failure made room for me to be here right now. What I mean? And I want people to understand that. And this is not just something that's happened to me. If you look at the history of everyone who's done anything in their life, don't you think that Elon Musk failed? Don't you think that Thomas Edison failed 10,000 times?
That's right.
Don't you think like the Wright brothers failed? You know what I mean? Don't you think Henry Ford failed? You think Steve Jobs failed? Come on, guys. The only difference between all those guys and me is that we didn't stay down.
Absolutely. I got to tell you one quick story, if that's all right, because when I was listening to your interview, you said something and it gave me chills. So when I'm losing my business in Vegas, it was a restaurant and it was doing really well. And then it went down with the economy and just, it was a really dark time as well. And I remember just having kind of a negative mindset. I started like bitching and complaining quite a bit. And I had a customer that was really successful. She owned several businesses, and I'll never forget, she gave me a book and she's like, read this. And that book really, it was one of the books that helped shape me, but that book was What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by
I
Shad
love that
Homestetter.
book, bro. I love
Yes,
that book. That was the foundation. That was the book I read during that time too. We have more things in common, bro. Shat Hamster, man. That guy, dude. That is the baddest book ever.
it
Yeah, that's
is.
one of my top 10 books of all time. What to say to yourself when you talk to yourself. And here's what I always say, man. Look, here's what I say. People think about what other people think of you. Okay. You know what's most important is what do you think of yourself?
That's right.
You know what I mean? That's the most important thing. I always tell people there's two people you need to please. One is yourself, and then the man upstairs. That's it.
Hmm.
That's it. You know what I mean? As long as you're happy with yourself and you know you did your best and you know that kind of stuff, you have positive self-talk, that's the best thing, man. And that book was a turning point in my life.
Yeah. Did you do the recording? Did you like, I wrote a paragraph and then I recorded it and I would just listen to it like all day long. Like at first it was cheesy. Did you do those exercises?
I did it. I did all of that, man. I'll be in the gym working out, listening, repeating. Bro, it's you can't deny, undeniably one of the top 10 books in my opinion.
That's awesome. So I want to spend just a minute because I know we're running short on time. You obviously on your comeback. I mean, this is for those listening. I mean, oh my God, you're 40, you're broke. I mean, starting over at 40 is hard, and this is such a powerful lesson for a lot of people listening that are in their 20s and 30s, and they think it's hopeless because they haven't figured it all out. Like it's crazy. But I'm really interested because I was so curious yesterday because you had to obviously change your business model a little bit and it's you said something about the challenge, and I want you to speak on that because I see lots of gyms doing that now. And like, did you pioneer that concept?
I did. I
Ah, that's
pioneered.
crazy.
Yeah, I pioneered the concept because look, you know, here's the thing. You want to lose weight. What are you supposed to do? Everybody and their mother knows what to do. My 9-year-old knows what to do. You want to lose weight, you eat less, you move more. Bottom line. How come we don't though? Everybody, America has this obesity problem. Everybody knows what to do.
That's right.
Everybody knows what to do. Go for a walk, eat a little better, eat a little less, and over time you're gonna lose weight. How come we're getting bigger, right? Because weight loss is not physical, it's mental. Okay, everybody knows how to do it, but somehow mentally they fail themselves, right? It's hard for them to delay gratification, and and it's hard for them to delay gratification. And again, delay gratification is the number one key to success.
Right.
If you haven't learned it, if you haven't read it yet, read the book called "Who Don't Eat the Marshmallow." Okay, and just read it. It's a study that's done in Stanford University. It's profound. But so I came up with a concept of how do I get inside of their head for them to delay gratification?
Right.
How do I come up with a way for them to not eat that pizza the second week on a diet? How to not have that drink when they're on a second week on a diet? And I came up with this challenge concept, and it just took off. And that's when I was told you I put my nose in the grindstone, and that was how we're able to scale to what we have done right now.
That's great because like I've been to several, like a lot of gyms here, like Iron Tribe. They're all doing that. So so the audience understands. So what you implemented, which was so genius. Like when I first sat down, I did it, and it was such a great challenge. So it was like like a 6 week or whatever challenge, and it's let's say $600, and then you have metrics, which if you can complete the challenge and hit those metrics, I can't remember what they were, but you get all of your money back.
Yeah.
And so when you implemented that, were you kind of nervous or scared, or did you know that just law of psychology and just law of numbers, like, just like insurance, right? Like they insure you based on,
No, not at all, man. I was doing it to just get some people results so
Mhm.
that I can post them on my, I can market them. I can put it on the website, put it on social media, So I was expecting that after they complete the challenge, they all get their money and run. And that was our agreement. I told him, if you follow the metrics, you lose the weight, you check in on Facebook, you do X, Y, and Z, you're gonna get your money back and all that. The first challenge that I did, I took 20 people at the end, the night before. I wrote 20 checks for them, ready to go after they were in, and I was expecting to give all their money back. And when I saw that out of 20 people, 2 people took their money back, 18 people were like, what do you mean? I want to stay. I want to do more. I want to be able to, go to the next level now. I'm like, you don't want me? They were offended. Like, you don't want me in your gym, Sam? I'm like, no, we had an agreement. No, I'll put that towards a membership. I want to keep going. I'm like, well, this is a hoax. I'm like, let me do another. I did another challenge, same results. Another challenge, same results. And here's what I found out why. Look, most people, a third into a diet or halfway through a diet,
Hmm.
they get confronted with an adversity. Adversity means that maybe they go to a party, they have their favorite foods. Maybe they're under peer pressure. People are telling them to eat. Maybe they're in a stressful situation and they just want to eat something. And so most people self-sabotage 2 or 3 weeks into it. And all I know is if they follow through for 6 weeks and they get some results, they're going to fall in love with their new results and they're going to stay. So once they saw that, wait a second, if I eat this, it could be a $500 meal. If I have this, it could mean a $500 drink. At first, they don't want to lose their money.
That's right.
But when they actually go past through it and they see their new self and they see how far they come and they see that they can actually do it, that $500 doesn't mean anything to them anymore because they fall in love with the process.
Man, I'm just in shock that you pioneered this. It's such like that's crazy. That's so crazy. So, finishing up, I just want to ask you a couple of things. Obviously, you've bounced back. You're absolutely killing it. Like, what's the future hold for you? Like, what's important to you now? Is it giving back? Is it still growing, setting example for your children? Like, what is your main motivator right now? And what are what do you value at this moment?
I think at the end of the day, what we all want is fulfillment.
That's right.
What really makes you happy? What really, makes your heart happy? And I used to think when I was growing up poor, I used to think that, oh, it's the mansion, oh, it's the Ferrari, oh, it's this and it's that. And it's not, and it's funny because I've heard other successful people talk about fulfillment when I was broke. And I'm like, fulfillment. What are you talking about? Fulfillment. I need a nice house. I need stability.
Right.
So it's very hard to talk about fulfillment when you're not stable because you're just trying to, not drown. But once you get to a place where you're comfortable, look, man, I mean, you know, do I need a bigger house than I have now? I mean, I don't need a bigger house. There's rooms here that I haven't been to for months in this house. You know what I mean? Do I need more cars, bro? I mean, no, I have to plug these cars in because so the battery doesn't dead because I don't get to drive them all the time. I have so many cars to drive. So at a certain point, man, it becomes a diminishing return. And
Right.
you ask yourself, what's next for me? And what's next for me right now is to be able to help other people, be able to help other people come up, for me to be able to share my story and hopefully impact as much people as possible. At the end of the day, man, it's all about who you impact and how much people you help. None of this material stuff matters to me anymore. Now don't get me wrong. Do we all want to make more money? We do. That's one marker of success. One marker of success, but it's not at the top of my list. The top of the list is I want to make an impact.
That's awesome. I have one last question. And obviously, the world is still recovering from Kobe Bryant passing away. And it's really, man, it was devastating. He's one of my favorites of all time, just seeing that and just knowing that, his daughter was on there with him and just super emotional having kids. But it led me to just think, if you had a minute that you could go back in time and just talk to like you only had a minute to give your daughters like a lesson, what would you share with them? And you only get that 60 seconds because I want to give that advice to the audience. Like, what would you say?
I say, look, man, life is too short to hold grudges. Life is too short to be unhappy. Make sure you are a person where when people want to be around you. You know, don't sweat the small stuff. And that made me realize, man, that sometimes we have like little fallouts with people, or we have like little disagreements and all that kind of stuff. And it's a little bunch of bullshit, right?
Right.
And the next thing you know, don't talk for 2 months, 3 months. Sometimes you just don't talk because your ego's in the way. I'm not going to call him. I'm not going to call her. This and that. This and that. You know what, man? That made me realize, man. Do you really want to live like that? Because
That's right.
tomorrow that person might not be here.
Mm.
Not even tomorrow. The next hour not be. Kobe was in church at 7 a.m. Dead at 9:30 a.m. You know what I mean? Come on, man. And it just makes you realize what's important in life, what's not.
Man, that's
There's a book called, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, and it's all small stuff. This was one of my one of the earliest, one of the first books I read when I became an entrepreneur. Because I was stressed out.
right.
Everything was stressing me out. I'm like, you know what? At the end of the day, you do your best. You be the best person you can be, and you control what you can control, and what you can't control, you can't sweat.
Man, Sam, this has been a great interview. I have to ask you this. I'm not superficial, but I love cars too. What all do you have in your collection now?
Okay, so I'm down. I used to have 19 cars. I'm down to like 9. Um, because I don't need it. I don't need it. 'Cause, I thought it was cool, but then you forget which one needs maintenance. You forget which one needs registration. You forget, like, dude. Sometimes you forget you have them. I remember one time I went to San Diego, and I was coming back, and I forgot that I left my wallet in the other car. Now I have no gas in the middle of San Diego. I'm begging somebody, to give me $10 in the Rolls Royce. You know what I mean? True story. True story. You know, um, True story, bro. So, at that time you think it's cool, but now, in my collection right now, I have that Ferrari 488 GTB. I have a Lamborghini Huracan Performante. I have a Carbon 65 Z06 Corvette. I have a Dodge Demon. I have a Brabus G-Wagon. I have a Range Rover SV Autobiography. Um, I have an Infinity SUV, and I have a custom Sprinter. That's just like an executive mobile.
I love it, man. Look, you have been a true inspiration, and I can't tell you how many people whose lives you have just changed just with the last 45 minutes, man. I mean that. A lot of people that I get feedback from are just looking for those one or two nuggets to take it to the next level or to break through. And this interview is full of them, man. So I just want to say thank you so much for your time. And it was just such a pleasure to have you on.
Oh, it's an honor and privilege to be on your show, man. Thank you so much. Please
Yes,
stay in touch.
absolutely. Will do.